Hello everybody, this is Jason Bellipanni. I'm the instructor for English 529 Fiction Fundamentals, and I just wanted to try something out, see if I could manage to do this actually. What we're looking at is just some of the parts of Blackboard that we'll be using. And the clicking noise, I don't know if I like that. But the first thing that we're looking at is the supplementary bar or the tab, which I just sort of included in there. They don't necessarily want me to be adding things, I guess, to the menus and so on. So I thought I would, well, sort of still do that, but then made a little button for it called supplementary. So these are assignments that are optional, basically. The first one, for example, is about narration in general. It's a storytelling unit that I do when I teach basic sort of storytelling, whether it's essays or fiction or whatever. And then there is a description also unit, which is, I think we get to that sort of in module 4 or so. Anyway, these are from a couple of textbooks that I wrote for my classes. So I put those on there in those two different formats, a flip book and also just PDF. There are a couple of interviews when I come across them. I put them on there, YouTube interviews, some of the people that we actually are reading, some of the authors. So I will put those on there too. Again, this is supplementary, so this is sort of not graded. It's just for your own benefit, and I figured, why not? That's sort of the deal. The other thing I'll include there, you see this module number 1 template. I used this last term. People found it helpful. Basically, it's just a setup of each module. Can't see it very well, I notice, but in this sort of one place, one format, here are the things you read, are the assignments as far as discussion board and or story that you have to write. So it's all sort of just in this one document, and it's called, I keep calling it the template, because it's what I used when I designed the course. All right, under my instructor, there is my website, which has a bunch of stuff about me. So that's probably where you would want to go in order to find out about me and so on. There's a little portfolio presentation thing that you can do. It's just basically, it's a neater looking PowerPoint, I suppose. And so you can go there and click through it, and it goes through all my different histories and stuff like that, work and all of those things, books. It just had my short story collection just came out like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, so has a lot of it on. That's a lot of what the website has now. This is where I've clicked on 3 different things. One is the personal blog. Second is the wiki, and then my grades, which I can't access, and then research writing. That's very basic. We don't really do it, so it's not really a concern. And the discussion board. So basically, this is one way to get to all of those places. Now, when you go to the learning modules for each week, click on the module. The only modules that will be open are the ones that are available. So, and I leave them open. So once they open, then you can access them. But I cannot open them earlier. So module 1 obviously is open. You click on it, and it has everything that you need for module 1. This has an overview, but I think this module 1 is the only one that does, I think. Just a very basic explanation of what it is. There's the module resources, which is usually just the textbooks listed and the specific stories that you're supposed to read. You can access the wiki through, or you can access Turnitin through here, because this is how you have to submit your stories. So you have to post your story onto the wiki, and then you have to also submit it through Turnitin. This is one way to do that. You go to this assignment. Another way, you go to the wiki button, you click on the wiki button. That'll take you to the assignment and to the wiki place. And I'm going to try to make sure I put the assignments like the little descriptions of them, so you can see them and so on. You need to create a page, so you click on Add New Page, and we're trying to stick with this format of last name, assignment number, and then the title of the piece. Once you sort of type that in, then you need to make sure that you put it under the right assignment. So you click on assignment 1.1, and then you've made your page. Your page opens, and this is basically where you copy and paste your story. Everybody has access to the wiki, meaning everybody can read it. This is how we're going to do critiques. So once you put the story there, the other thing, now it's on the wiki. So the only other thing you have to do is submit it to turn it in. I'll also try to make sure there's a link back on the wiki too. You can see that. Personal blogs, just you. This is you responding to certain ideas. Reflection is the theory. That just means you're sort of focused on the concept that we're dealing with and how it relates to you and your understanding and so on. It's a way of processing and sort of integrating information into your mind. Course information. Okay, that's where the syllabus lives. The useful part about the syllabus, at the sort of middle part, there is a brief summary of each module. So if you ever want to just have a look at that, it's a very condensed version of, I thought that might be helpful too, but so it's similar to the template that I mentioned earlier, but that's in the syllabus. Now there are guidelines and rubrics that have been set up for the course specifically. I've modified a couple, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So this is the discussion rubric. Yeah, I wonder if you're able to see it. I can't tell. In any event, basically here's when we have a discussion. This is all after the icebreaker, by the way. The icebreakers doesn't really count because you're not being graded on it. But for discussions afterwards, there is an initial post, and then there are 2 posts where you respond to somebody else. So this rubric talks about basically, what you want to make sure you include. You want to have responses to people's posts that are better than, I agree or I disagree. Just sort of about going a little more in depth. The blog, again, that's the reflective piece where you are sort of tasked with thinking about a certain concept or story, putting different ideas together, and then also connecting your own ideas, your own process to that. So they set up a rubric for that as well, as far as here's what you want to make sure you're able to do. There's a link to how to use the blogs. That's an actual narrated demonstration. If you want to look at that, that's not a bad thing to do if you're not familiar with it. So all of the rubrics have this basic format of distinguished, proficient, emerging, and I don't know, I forgot the last one, not existent or something like that. All right, this is the critique rubric. So this is when you will critique other people's stories. This is an every other week. So next week, that'll be one of the main things that you do. So you're either writing a story or you're critiquing a story, sort of back and forth. The critique is, a big part of the course. And one of the things that so I would recommend that you sort of read that rubric specifically. It just talks about, one, etiquette, but also trying to say something, substantial, trying to make comments that will actually help. One of the rubrics that I have changed, or I don't know, I guess I've enhanced it, and I'll put that up for all of us. This is the fiction writing rubric. This is what this is what I use to think about your stories, and I've tried to make it more specific to actual stories and fiction writing. This is the basic one. So this is the one that everybody has right now. which I guess everybody is the standard one. So that's the standard sort of fiction writing rubric. And what I did was I decided to try to make it a little bit more specific so that, by marking it or whatever, you can actually get feedback from it. So I went into it and tried to get more specific as far as different aspects of story and storytelling. So I'll probably be using that, and I will put that one up. It's basically the same format. If you not used to Turnitin, there are Turnitin tutorials there as well. Turnitin, for those of you who don't know, I mean, it's a service where, I don't know, I can't, sort of an anti-plagiarizing service where you submit your work and they can tell you if, you've cheated or whatever. Uh, for us, really, it doesn't matter the Turnitin just because we're making stories. So, in any event, if that's something that you are unsure about, there is a tutorial under course information. This is just starting over again, the video that you're watching, because I can't talk unless, I guess, video's playing. But I think actually that's probably, I've covered everything that I meant to cover. For questions, what you want to do is go to the discussion board and you can ask questions there. If it's a question that everybody might be interested in knowing the answer to, that would be a great place to do that. Otherwise, you can always email me. I usually get back to people pretty quickly as far as emails go. But the questions, sort of the question part of the discussion board, definitely is helpful if you have a question and there's a few people who would be interested in the answer as well. So I guess the only thing I would suggest, I guess, at this point is under the supplementary materials, if you take a look at narration and storytelling, that little, just look it over. Like I said, it's a very basic, here's how, a traditional story is set up. And I use it for various things. For just an English class when we're talking about essays, I've used it for beginning creative fiction, intro to creative writing. I've used it for intro to fiction writing and so on. So it's not a very complicated thing. And if you're coming to this maybe not having just finished or writing fiction, or it's been a while or whatever, you might want to take a look at it. It just has a couple of my stories in it as well, as a way to try to, if you want to be familiar with some of the things that I write, while you're looking over the structure of stories or whatever. But so I would take a look at that, go to narration and storytelling, click on that, either one, whichever one you can access, and just take a look at that. Like I said, anything under supplementary is not a graded activity, but I hope that it's useful to you. And that's why whenever I come across stuff, I'll try to put it there. All right, I will talk to you all later. And again, let me know if you have any questions. Okay, bye-bye. Or whatever. For us, it's not really going to matter as much. All right, hold on.